Welcome to Lost Girl Therapy. Yeah, let's clarify neck issues. So as a background to this, the information about me that you need to know is that I used to practice yoga, and I noticed that when I was doing a shoulder stand, so where your legs are basically like straight up above your head and you're on your like upper chest slash neck, that when I would come down from the shoulder stand, I had like spots. I also kind of started to get like almost like back spasms. And they sort of happened out of nowhere. I had been practicing for almost 10 years, and throughout the pandemic, I started to see that I was getting these sensations. And I literally just kept doing it. It's on me. I straight up was just like, it's fine. I'm young. I'm healthy. I will just do this. It never occurred to me that I was hurting my neck. Now, I don't know what caused my jugular vein compression. I just feel like that's relevant info for you to have before we get into it. I had already experienced that if I put pressure on my neck with like in a shoulder stand, that when I came down from the shoulder stand, I wasn't doing so hot. What I noticed in my day-to-day, and this is after I started doing PT, after I started doing acupuncture, after I started doing nervous system regulation, after I basically like started pushing my body back into a state of relative safety as opposed to such heightened sensitivity, I began to notice that in certain movements or when I sat in certain ways, I would get a really quick onset of POTS. Now, the first time I noticed it was I would be sitting up in bed and I would be like typing on my laptop. So looking down at that angle was not great. And I would have that immediate trigger of like, oh my God, okay, here we go. We're going to have a POTS episode. The second time I noticed it was if I was folding laundry and if I was standing above my bed and I was folding it on my bed. So again, that angle of like looking downward, not great. Then I began to notice it and put the pieces together when I was like exercising. So I do the Levine protocol for POTS, and there are some exercises that they, kind of encourage you to do to like build your ab strength. Anytime I did a crunch, anytime I like tried to do any version of Pilates, something that I was like very well versed in before all of this, I noticed that I would have so much tension like here and here, and it was physically painful. I then noticed that if there was ever a time like, this is like so hyper specific to me, but if I was upset and I like put my head in my hand, so literally like down like this, if I stayed there for more than 30 seconds, I would feel it immediately kick on. Also for me, looking out car windows. If I sit on the left or the right-hand side of the car, and if I'm not sitting in the middle of the back seat, this direction for more than 30 seconds, or alternatively, that direction, is terrible. I begin to get like eye pressure, tension, I get headaches, I basically like lose feeling in my fingers. And that's kind of how I put it together. Now, everybody has a different version of this because compression can happen in a variety of ways. It's really what is yours. If you're as you said, like a dental hygienist who's constantly looking down, try to figure out if there are other movements that exacerbate that. So for me, like looking down to the left is fine. Looking down to the right, not good. It's very hyper specific to your person. I was just lucky enough that I was able to see a doctor in New York who specialized in jugular vein compression. They were a neurosurgeon, and they were great at explaining to me like what it is, how it works, why it happens. I'm just not eligible for surgery because my compression is so specifically like posture oriented. It is not something that has been shown on imaging for me to exist all the time. So I have to find other ways to handle it. But if you are experiencing compression, or if you're experiencing the onset of symptoms of like blurry vision, head pressure, your heart starts to race, or your blood pressure drops too low, it's something to talk about with a neurologist or a specialist in jugular vein compression.